Hey everyone, before we start the show, I just want to get some plugs out of the way. If you enjoy this podcast and you're into wrestling, check out the Nerds and Marks podcast or Marty and Sarah Love Wrestling. If you're not getting your fill on movie and entertainment discussion, then check out the Entertainment Buffet podcast. If you want to dive into the world of video games, I highly recommend the Darkcast by my friends over at darkstation.com. Listen to them cover important topics and interview men and women from all over the industry. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show. Hello everyone and welcome to Shelved. We got another car cast today. Yeah, a little car cast. Being safe as usual. Don't try this at home. I guess you can't do really a car cast driving at home. We're going to drive through your home. No, don't try it in your car. How about that? A buddy of mine actually after the last car cast sent me a picture of like a microphone hookup to your window. It was like blocking like 90% of the view. Luckily, I can just hold this basically the same way you would hold a drink if you're driving, which don't drink and drive either. I mean, I'm talking about a soda, not a beer. I don't drink beer, but, I'm just making this worse. So let's get into it. Today's mini episode. I got some stuff to review. There was a big thing that dropped this weekend, as I'm sure everybody knows about. The new Marvel Netflix show, The Defenders. So we'll get to that. That'll be the main event. But I did also watch two movies over this weekend. One I've been wanting to watch for a while, and the other is one I've learned about recently. I had heard about it many times, but I always got it confused with another movie. So this time I started watching this YouTube series. If you've heard of the Red Letter Media guys, they do a reviews series called Half in the Bag. And I've been actually picking a lot of their movies that they talk about out to watch that I hadn't seen. And one of them, which is the first movie I'll talk about, is called Blue Ruin. And this movie was excellent. It came out in 2013, and if I had seen it then, it definitely would have been on my list of my favorite movies of 2013, which if you follow my Letterboxd, which I highly recommend movie fans checking out the Letterboxd website. And you can follow me on there. I don't know how you find me, either by name, Jeremy Meyer, or by username, Advent_Crash. I'm not quite sure, because I don't have a lot of people that I follow on there yet, because nobody I know really uses it, except for a couple people. But Letterboxd is really fun, and you can create lists. And I have lists of all of my favorite movies from the years of 2000 to 2017. And every time I see a new movie from that year that I really like, I add it to that list. So Blue Ruin was added to my list of favorite movies in 2013, and it's a really it's a depressing movie. It's not like a feel-good movie. It's dark, it's fucked up, and it ends the way you would expect it to. I don't want to spoil this movie because I highly think it's worth watching, but I will tell you the general plot, and then I will give you some of my basic thoughts. And that'll go for this movie. I will probably do some spoiler talk on the next movie, and I will definitely do some spoiler talk on Defenders. But before I do spoiler talk on any of those, I'll give you my general thoughts, so then you know to skip ahead for the other reviews if you don't want them spoiled. But Blue Ruin. It's about it kind of follows this homeless man who, in the very beginning of the movie, is told that the person who killed his parents is getting out of jail. And he just immediately decides to take revenge on this person. You don't know a lot about why he's homeless and all these things, but you assume it has something to do with the downward spiral of his life after his parents were killed. So it's... The thing with him is he's kind of inept. Obviously, he's a normal, everyday fucking guy. He's never even fired a gun in his life, but now he wants to get a gun and go kill this person. And it's kind of his journey to do that, and then the consequences of the actions. and it's really fucking good. It's a movie carried by its performance. The performance of the main actor, who's, I'm sorry, his name I don't have in front of me, but there's no named actors in the movie. It's a bunch of, you know, lesser known people, and they all do a really good job. And in particular, the lead actor, you believe him as a broken man who is going to do whatever he feels is necessary despite having the ability to do so, because he doesn't know what he's doing, but he's like determined to get it done. And just the way it goes about, the way it plays out, it's a very interesting movie. Again, carried by the performance. He's on screen basically 100% of the time. The movie is just with him, and it's a fantastic film. But again, go in knowing like this is a feel bad movie. Like you don't be, hey, I'm in a good mood, I'm gonna watch a movie today. Like, no, like you need to be in the right mood to watch this movie, because it's fucked up, it's dark, but it is good. Like if you enjoy those kind of movies, which I do, like I'm kind of a big fan of downer movies. I wouldn't watch a lot of them in a row just because the way that would make you feel mentally. But every now and then I like to throw on a movie like that. And this is a better example of one of these movies. It's short. It's just like a brisk 90 minutes. It's just quick in and out movie. So I highly recommend checking out Blue Ruin, which came out in 2013. I gave that one a 5 out of 5. It was fucking awesome, and I really enjoyed it. So the second movie that I saw that I'm going to talk about was one that came out early this year that I've been dying to see, and it's just been one of those movies that I missed early on, and that is Jordan Peele's Get Out. I love horror movies. I love thriller movies. Everyone has always been saying like, hey, this is one of the best movies of the year, and I hadn't seen it. And I was really wanting to see it because I love Jordan Peele. I think he's a fucking brilliant writer. And even just from doing sketch shows like Key and Peele, like there was some good fucking deep stuff in there. So I was very curious to see what he would do as with a serious movie. And it was kind of billed as a horror comedy. I don't agree. I'd call it like a horror thriller. Like there's definitely jokes and stuff in there, but it's not like a comedy movie. The concept, though ridiculous, is taken very seriously, and it is done really well. The story goes to, like, it's one of those movies where watching the trailer is like, oh, I feel like I know the story of this movie, and it's just like the thing that must be good about it is, you know, the way it progresses and the acting and stuff, which all of those things are great. The progression of the story, the acting is awesome. But the story was actually pretty different from what I expected. Like, you watch all the trailers and you're just like, oh, you know, this seems to be pretty obvious what's going on, but let's see how it plays out. But no, there was legitimate surprises and twists in there, and the way it's executed is excellent. For his first directed movie, Jordan Peele did a great job. There's some great shots in the movie. It's written really well and believable. Like, it's not a bunch of people fucking pussyfooting around like you see in normal horror movies. Like, when shit gets weird, they're like, we need to go. And it's just done so well. And yeah, the main actor, who he was in like my least favorite episode of Black Mirror, but I thought he was really good in that episode. He's fucking great in the movie. One of my favorite things is there's multiple places where Jordan Peele could have put himself in the movie and been like, hey, you know, I'm gonna put myself in my movie and I'll be this character, and it wouldn't have even been that distracting. But like, I'm glad he restrained and he just wanted to be the man behind the camera. I think it worked in his favor, because I do believe his presence just would have been distracting just because of Key and Peele and how recognizable he would be from that. But it was very good. So again, I give Get Out a 5 out of 5, and that's where we're going to stop the general discussion, and we're going to talk spoilers for maybe like 3 or 4 minutes. So if you want to skip ahead, do so right now. Okay, so getting into spoilers, I really like the hypnotizing scene, where like, the whole beginning is like, oh, you know, she hypnotizes people, she can help you with your smoking problem, and blah, blah, blah. So I always assumed that the whole plot was they just hypnotized all these black people to be their perfect version of society, because, like, oh, black people are criminals and gangbangers, and we're going to make them better people. And that's not what it was at all. I was very surprised. The hypnotizing scene in particular was the best scene of the movie for me. Just her cracking him with the death of his mother and how he didn't do anything when he might have possibly been able to save her. And the teacup in particular, like the sound of it and just the idea of it, like I picked up right away is like as they were talking and she's making this noise in the teacup and the way they keep cutting to it, I was like, oh shit, this is the thing. Like this is the dangling the watch in front of somebody's face. And I thought that was really fucking awesome. And the way it plays throughout the rest of the movie makes that even better, the way they use it. And I loved that. And that fucking scene was the best part of the movie. But no, the idea of they're taking these people's brains and putting them in the bodies of these black men is insane. And I like not what I expected. Like it kind of like this is a serious, realistic horror movie that suddenly takes a turn into the unbelievable and impossible, but you totally buy into it. It's done in such a way where you're just like, okay, like this could never happen for real, but it's a horror film and I'm in. Like it works. And my only complaint with the movie is like after it's all said and done, the revenge just wasn't as brutal as it should be. Him going around and killing all of them, like you want him to take his time with each one and just like, oh, you fucking son of a bitch, and just like torture them almost the way they're torturing everybody else. But it's really just like he gets it fucking done. Like he's not wasting time. Like as soon as he figures out something's wrong, he's like, hey, look, we gotta go. And she's like, oh, I can't find the keys to my purse. Like, all right, well, we'll find them on the way. Let's just fucking be walking out of here. And the one thing I did call was the daughter being in on it. Like I knew that she was going to be part of it, and sure enough she was, but it was still just all done super well. And even the scene where like she's just sitting there eating cereal and drinking milk and looking at pictures of like sexy black dudes, like you can tell like she gets a little bit of a thrill out of it. Like she loves black guys, and this is just her way of indulging in that and being with her crazy family. But no, Get Out was amazing. It went to places I didn't expect. It surprised me. And it was a movie I thought that I was just going to be sold on like the performances and stuff. It's so well cast. Like everybody in the movie was perfectly cast. I couldn't have cast a better movie myself. But I highly recommend Get Out. Even I can't wait to see it again. There was even some things like told to me like, hey, if you watch that party scene, you notice all of the white men are wearing black outfits and all of the black people are wearing like white and lighter color clothes. It's very interesting. Very good movie. Jordan Peele did an amazing job, and I can't wait to see what he's doing next. Okay, let's move on to The Defenders. So that's the big one. We're coming hot off of Iron Fist, and Iron Fist was not good. I didn't hate it as much as everybody else does, but it's still not a good show. It's weaker than any other Marvel show. I didn't hate the casting of Danny Rand the way everybody else did. You know, everybody was like, oh, it should have been an Asian actor and blah, blah, and like that would have been fine. But I mean, Danny Rand is white in the comics. It stays true to the story in the comics. The whole idea is he's an outsider to that world. So I think it would have been a little compromising of character. But it would have been fine. Like the guy that they were looking at totally made sense as Iron Fist, like the stunt guy or whatever. The big problem was they didn't give him enough time to learn how to fight. The series itself was really poorly written, and just the editing and directing of the episodes was not very good. And on top of having maybe the least interesting villain of all time. But yeah, Iron Fist was a big dud. Like, it had some good moments, and to me it got slowly better as it went on, but just never hit a point where it's like, all right, this is acceptable. So going into The Defenders, Iron Fist, the story plays a big part of The Defenders, so it's a little worrisome, but I have to say, Defenders was great. Like, Danny Rand is still the weakest part, but he's treated better, and he's almost treated like the punching bag of the group, where he, you know, you watch Iron Fist, and he's like, I am the Iron Fist. I am here to destroy the hand, and I am the expert on the hand. And then he's all of a sudden in a group with other people who have experienced the hand and maybe even know more than he does. And he's kind of the one like, wait a minute, you're blind and you're unbreakable. Like, how is this working? What sense does this make? And he's kind of got that childlike wonder about it. And, you know, he gets his ass kicked by Luke Cage, which is pretty great in the second episode. But yeah, Defenders was good. I was like a lot of people, I'm sure, coming off of Iron Fist, it's like, I don't know, but it's got a good story. The villains are okay. Like, we get some good villains from Daredevil returning. We get some not so good villains from Iron Fist returning. And then we get Sigourney Weaver, who's a little underwhelming. Like, she's good, but she doesn't get to do enough in the show to really be, like, amazing or anything. The fight scenes are great. Everything, like, you can definitely tell the actor who played Danny Rand got more time to get better, and his action scenes are handled better, not as much quick cuts and editing. I will say, there are 2 episodes in particular, and unfortunately they're very important ones. The first episode and the last episode, where the action scenes are edited very poorly. It's kind of hard to tell what's going on. Like, you can tell there's good fighting happening, but you just can't see it enough. It's too much shaky cam and quick cuts, and it really hurts those scenes, and that's kind of a bummer. Because one of those is the last episode where everybody is fighting together. But it's minor enough that it doesn't hurt the show. And the rest of the show is done very well. There are some weird editing techniques, like they do these like stylistic shots of the city to transition scenes sometimes, and it comes off a little clunky and just kind of out of place because I don't recall any of the other shows doing anything like that. And it was just their way to add a little bit of flair to the show, and I think it didn't work. It wasn't stylistic enough. But I mean, like, the best part is seeing everybody back. Like, Jessica Jones was my favorite of the Marvel shows, so it's great to have her back. Although even she makes jokes like, am I the only one that doesn't know karate? But she still does a lot of things to be useful. And of course she is the one that doesn't want to be involved in all this, but, you know, gets dragged back in and manages to stay involved. The idea that Daredevil has, like, retired at the beginning is a little strange. It feels kind of like Dark Knight Rises, but, it works, and it does a great job of, like, hey, let's pull him back in. And I really like The Defenders. To me, it was like a solid 4 out of 5. Like, it's got a good story. It's leaps and bounds better than Iron Fist. And Danny Rand goes through some changes. He becomes a little better of a character. Like, he's almost kind of PTSD from the end of the Iron Fist series, like seeing Kung Lung and the Gates attacked or whatever. And so you get the idea that, like, oh man, he's kind of seen some shit and he's a little broken at the beginning, but by the end he's kind of just become a dumb, boring character again. So it was, like, frustrating to see, hey, there's some character development, he's becoming better, you don't hate him as much in Defenders, and you don't, like, throughout the whole thing. Like, he does some stupid shit, but you have to realize this was a guy who disappeared as a kid and then came back and doesn't really know how this modern day world works, and he's still learning things, and he's got these ideologies, or, sorry, I can't even say that word. He's got these ideals in his head from being in Kung Lun, and that's what he understands of the world, and he doesn't realize how stupid he's being by just walking in and be like, hey, I'm Danny Rand, I'm the Iron Fist, and I'm going to fuck you up. So, you know, that, it gets a little frustrating seeing him have some good character development and then it getting walked back a little bit by the end. But overall, Defenders is really good. You should definitely check it out. 8 episodes is a great length for this. I love that they're just in and out. I would love to see more episodes for Daredevil, like go back to 13 for that. But if you're going to give me 8 great episodes instead of 13, like, mostly great episodes, then I'm fine with that. Episode 3 for Defenders was the highlight for me. That's the episode where they first all come together and have, like, their first fight scene together. Yeah, but Defenders is really good. Let's get into spoilers from this point on. I don't know if I have a lot to say for spoilers, but we'll start with Elektra. Elektra was really great in this. A lot of people didn't like Elektra in Daredevil Season 2. I was fine with her. I never really thought she was a problem, but her being a kind of different character in this made her much more interesting. Her death is left ambiguous at the end, which is kind of a bummer, unless they do name drop that her body was found, because they do say that, you know, they never found Matt's body, and they do, you know, they have the reveal at the end, which I believe will be the setup for Daredevil Season 3, which I believe is a part of I think it is a classic Daredevil story, the setup they're going into. I'm not sure. I haven't read a lot of Daredevil, but if you know anything about that, please let me know. I would like to read more Daredevil, and I'm trying to get some of the books. Luckily, they did a Daredevil sale on Marvel, and I picked up some books. Daredevil Yellow is one I hear that is really good, so I picked that up. And then I like the second book in the run that was started by Kevin Smith. I think I have that one. because I already had that first book. But yeah, so I'd like to get more into Daredevil. If you know anything about that storyline that is possibly set up for season 3, let me know. But yeah, Defenders, I liked the way the team all worked together. I liked the progression of kind of all their stories. Like, I always hear people kind of shit on characters like Luke Cage, and I think the actor is really great, and I thought Luke Cage was really great. Sigourney Weaver being like the leader of the Hand, I felt was handled not that great. She's supposed to be like the oldest one of them all, and she's died and been resurrected multiple times, and you know, she says, like, there's a couple lines like, oh, this is as good as it was in Constantinople, and they're like, you mean Istanbul? Constantinople's, that's ancient. And she's just like, yes, of course. And I don't know, it's like kind of cool but kind of cheesy and hokey at the same time. Like, I almost laughed at it because it's just like, oh man, it just feels like somebody's trying to show off. But it was really good. I guess I don't have a lot of spoilers to say for Defenders. The bringing back of the characters from Iron Fist as like villains, it was interesting, and everybody's handled pretty well. There was no major death amongst the good guys, not even out of like the side characters and stuff, which was, yeah, it was fun to see all these side characters interact for the first time, like Foggy and Karen interacting with Colleen and stuff like that. Like, that was fun. They didn't do it enough, in my opinion. Like, Trish from Jessica Jones kind of gets to know Karen a little bit, and that makes sense because they're both, one's a radio host, one's a reporter, so it makes sense for them to get to know each other. The thing with Karen being a reporter and how she's just so good at it and stuff is always felt kind of shoehorned in. I don't know, as I said, I haven't read a lot of Daredevil. I don't know much about that character. If she does become a reporter, I don't believe she does, but I like reporters, and that was something I considered as a profession at one point, so I always like kind of relate to reporter characters. Like currently me and my wife are watching Riverdale, and Jughead and Betty is the most interesting story for me because they're like on the school paper and actually investigating the murder, and so that's stuff I kind of latch onto, even though they might be some of the more unpopular characters. But I always like that stuff, and I like it. I liked it in Daredevil, and I liked it in the little bit that was there. But it was great to see the characters together on screen and how they all worked well together. One of the better parts is Daredevil and Iron Fist fight each other, and it's actually a really good fight. I don't know if it was, stuntman versus stuntman, because obviously Matthew Cox doesn't need to show his face. He's in the Daredevil outfit. But, if it wasn't the actor who plays Danny Rand, if it was a stuntman, I honestly couldn't tell. It seemed like the actor to me, so he definitely got better at fighting, and they did a better job of editing his fight scenes and stuff. So that, it helped his character in that kind of way. And I hope this helps pave the way to make a better Iron Fist Season 2, because there were some good ideas in Iron Fist, and I would like to see that show be successful, because I'd like to see everything be successful, but that first season was just so rough. Surprisingly, none of his side characters aside from Colleen make an appearance. Like, I thought we would see something from the Meachums, and we never do. Daredevil is still like the highlight, Daredevil and Jessica Jones for me. I do like... Oh, what was I going to say? Fuck. There was like a point I kept trying to drive home, but I had other stuff to say. Fuck. Defenders. I don't know. They never call themselves the Defenders, which I like, or at least I didn't pick up on it. Maybe if they said it, I missed it. But like when they call themselves the Avengers and Avengers, it's, it works. It's fine. But nobody ever calls them the Defenders, and I like that they don't. I like that they stayed away from a name. And it is kind of this thing. Like, they came together begrudgingly, but at the end, they're happy they found each other. So I highly recommend the Defenders. It's got a couple hiccups here and there, but overall it's a very good series. A very good, like, everything built to this. It doesn't feel as big as the Avengers, but I'm more excited to be done with the Hand and then move on from this. I actually think it would be curious to see, like, I know this storyline is kind of looked down upon in the comics, but what if they did Shadowland as the next Defender story, which is Daredevil becomes the leader of the Hand and then brings it to New York City, and he's kind of ruling the streets with an iron thumb. And I think the problem with that series is it turns out he's like possessed by a demon of the Hand or something, which is retarded. But maybe they can do something better with that. But I don't really want to see the Hand again for a little while, so I hope they don't do that, but that would be interesting. I could see that being the next Defenders thing. I assume it'll follow the Avengers formula where, hey, everybody will get another season before we do another Defenders. So we'll see where that goes. But yeah, I guess my point never came back to me. So I guess that's kind of all I got for Defenders. This Friday, not really sure what we're going to do. I would like to do the final Star Wars commentary, but we usually record those on the weekends. I doubt I'll have time during the week. My wife is starting school, so I should have got her to do it this weekend then, because now she might not have enough time with homework and stuff. I'll try to knock that out of the way this upcoming weekend, so that'll probably be next week. We'll figure out this Friday's episode as we've been doing. I hope you enjoyed The Amazing Spider-Man. That was a fun episode to record, and it basically just turned into like a Marvel conversation in general, just talking about comics and stuff. But yeah, that's going to be it for today's mini episode and today's car cast. Sorry for all this car noise as I am now trying to find a parking spot for work. But thank you all for listening. Be sure to check us out on our social medias. shelvedfilmpodcast@gmail.com is our email if you want to like send us a message, talk to us, let me know about that Daredevil story. And then you can find us on social media at Shelved Podcast, on Twitter and Instagram, and that's all we got. Are there any other social medias we should be on? Like, should I have a fucking, what is it called, Pinterest? I've heard some podcasts using Pinterest. I don't think that one would work for this, but if there's anywhere else we should be, we're finally on Stitcher. I need to figure out how to get us on Google Play, and I guess they have podcasts on what's it called, Spotify now. So I got to figure that out. But I'm trying to get everywhere where you can listen to a podcast. We also have YouTube and Facebook, so be sure to check us out there. I actually get more comments on YouTube than anywhere else, so thanks everybody for commenting and listening there. And that's going to be it for today's mini episode. So be sure to check out all of those links, and I hope you enjoyed the episode. And we will see you again on Friday.